I thought to myself, okay, well, we'll record a video on everything that's going on the timeline, and noticed this. I'm 28 years old. Why? Yes, I'm an old man. Why am I getting these? Disgusting. Some disgusting stuff on the timeline, actually, as it goes, and that's why we're here covering it. And I wasn't going to do a video on Call of Duty today, but this is something I feel as if is worth talking about. First and foremost, let's dive into it. And let's have a look at what Crimsix was saying. Now, we're going to play this video if you have not seen it, or heard it, I should say, because that's the most important thing, from the Culture Canadian Esports podcast. Let's just have a listen before we delve in, and then we'll go back to what they say.
This is kind of what makes me think of that. It's the friendship league, if you have Loony on there. He gave no reason.
He used to play with Gunless, he used to play with, yeah.
It literally is that. Like, there's no reason why he should be picked up this year. He gave us no reason to keep him on the team on Ultra. And I think that the other people out there that perform better than him that didn't get a spot.
Yeah, and people are sitting there going like, sorry, I'm cutting you off, but just because I want to give you, because some people are like, what? It's Loony. How do you see him in 2018? But like, some people are like, yeah, like he was a monster on 4v4. I was like, man, he was a monster 2 years ago when he was, 25, not 28 on World War II, which is arguably an extremely different game than one we're currently going to be playing. Like, that's not a good enough reason to pick him up, in my opinion. That's so risky. Like, I'm
actually just going to go through it here and just disagree with points immediately. Hold on.
This is kind of what makes me think of that. It's the friendship league, if you have Loony on it. He gave no reason.
He used to play with Gunless, he used to play with, yeah.
Used to play with Gunless, yes, okay, right. So, I mean, the point in this being, would Gunless want to team with him if it was just like Friendship League again? This Friendship League scenario doesn't apply to players like Loony. Right, I understand that there is Friendship League, etc. in there. I absolutely agree. However, a player like Loony and his repertoire, his history, his trophy cabinet, goes past the Friendship League. Gunless and him were fantastic on that Rise team together. Why not redo it again? But continue.
It literally is that. Like, there's no reason why he should be picked up this year. He gave us no reason to keep him on the team.
Because he barely played.
On Ultra. And I think that the other people out there that perform better than him that didn't get...
I don't disagree. There are better players out there than Loony. It's not.
But
yeah, and people are sitting there going like, sorry, I'm cutting you off, but just because I want to give you, because some people are like, what? It's Loony. How do you see him in 2018? But like, some people are like, yeah, like he was a monster on 4v4.
Yeah.
I was like, man, he was a monster 2 years ago when he was, 25, not 28 on World War II, which is arguably an extremely different game than one we're currently going to be playing.
Every game is different. Invalid point.
Like, that's not a good enough reason to pick him up, in my opinion. That's so risky. Like, age obviously plays a part. The game mechanics play a part. New talent coming in plays a part. Like, how are you... Like, this team should have been after John. This team should have been after young SMG players like Pred and Hydra and Fire. And maybe they will. Maybe there's some...
So, this situation is... And very much what, I mean... Crimsix touches on that there, as you can see. I just think it's a very, very close-minded kind of attitude. In this situation... I mean, I'm not going to even pretend like I know who these two guys are, and that's not from like a standpoint of, well, who are these guys to say anything, but I don't know who they are or their history. But from my standpoint, they're just like fans. They haven't been around for a long time and understand that you need some leadership in there, and he is somebody who's had that leadership before and has looked good with it. However, I just don't think they're paying attention to that.
Subspot is going to be somebody pretty good who they think can supplement, because between Pristini and Loony, I think you're lucky if one of those guys hits, and there's a potential they might need 2 or 3 subs on that team. So it's extremely risky, although if it works, Octane and Gunless, and if Loony, the leadership is there and he can keep Gunless in check, and Pristini is sort of a really good player who a lot of people think he is, it's a good team. But damn, is that risky.
I don't think it's that risky. Honestly, I think it's not a bad move. I'll be honest. The roster came out. I was expecting maybe some bigger moves in a sense, but Loony is a sensible choice. Pristini is a sensible choice. Gunless is. I would say Gunless is more of a risk than Loony. Gunless, we know he's got the talent. But obviously, as mentioned in the video, you need to sort of keep him in check a little bit. But yeah, a ridiculous video. Either way, this is not necessarily how we're going into this video and talking about. We're more talking about what sort of transpired after this. So Crimsic said, "This just pissed me off. Loony makes the people around him better and often ignored attribute and COD because it cannot be quantified. Ultra forced their full roster of 10 to stay in Toronto in the middle of a pandemic, threatening to not pay non-starters if they went home." Let's continue. Despite winning the Toronto home series leading to champs, Brack, who has never played a single league match for Toronto, had to fight Ultra to return home for his grandpa's open heart surgery. There was absolutely no chance he would have been subbed in. There's rumours that these clowns are wanting 50-50% prize winnings from their team next year whilst underpaying them. If the prize split goes up, so must the salary. This is the exact opposite of what they're doing, one of the most anti-player organisations I have seen. Toronto didn't play right. Okay, so this was from this. It was one of Brack's replies to that. I actually couldn't find it because I'm stupid. They aren't paying me, by the way. A full month's worth of salary. They aren't paying me because I was with my grandpa during a high-risk open heart surgery. Now I got to fight through challenges because an opened opportunity never opened up when I grinded respawn all the last year. I'm just getting through everything before we delve in. And then something else that came in is Ultra deceived and lied to players, stating that contractually they had to stay. Except contractually, there was another segment to the contract stating that the orgs cannot force players to live in a required location for a salary payment. It was in every CDL contract. Final little bits coming in here. And there was other little bits here and there as well. Not good light on Ultra whatsoever. And it's disappointing because I mean, I'll preface this with saying that I've known Marky B for years and years and years, and I wouldn't feel as if like any of these decisions would be made by him as a coach. Even Dom, like I don't really know Dom that well, but I've always like had some conversation with her. I feel as if she's a reasonable person. I don't think it necessarily would have been her. I think this is quite despicable. In fairness, I think there was another tweet in here as well in terms of like how it broke down. It was here we go from Crimsix again. I just couldn't find this one. The org side was that they've already heard the grandpa excuse to go home. Now I'm pretty facing this, but I don't know how true any of this is. Obviously Crimsix could be fed false information. This could be false information. I don't know. Based on this, though, let's presume it's true. If that is the case, what is this bullshit? They've already had this grandpa excuse to go home. What? So 2 people in your team can't have ill grandparents? It was from Classic, which I'm not sure I remember correctly. His grandpa actually passed away. They literally thought Brack was making up bullshit. I just think this is, for one, a massively PR damaging move. That it's not a move, but a moment, if you like, for Toronto. This is not good whatsoever. And honestly, I said I've known a lot of these guys. I've known Marky for years. I know Dam sort of partially. I know obviously Marty as well, who was in there with Splice. I'm not too sure like how much he has to do with the COD team, but it's pretty disgusting. I think, contractually there is going to be things there, but like, what about sick pay, that sort of thing? Like, you've got to be able to go. Like I have not necessarily had situations like that, but if I was working in an event or something and I had to then go away because my mother or father was unwell or something like that, typically they'd speak to you and you'd still be paid for your time that you are there. There is no way that they should be holding a month's worth of salary away from him. Surely there's going to be some sort of holiday sort of side of things, but either way, contractually, it's probably something in there to say they can't do anything about it. But I think it was something that Bryce said, like, where's the compassion from the Oaks here? We're not robots, we're all human beings at the end of the day. You need to sort of understand that people have to be there for their family, especially as somebody who's sitting on the sub bench. He's not even been playing. He didn't play a single game for them. Was he even the first one that they were going to put in? Probably not. It's very, very disappointing from an organization. I really enjoyed the content and how they played throughout the year. And it's also just pointing towards a bad model that Toronto had, in a sense, or the bad side of the model that they did have with the amount of players that they had. Basically, if you weren't being used, you're basically wasting a whole year. And every single player on that roster sort of was in that position last year where they did okay, and they could have been on a couple of these rosters and probably done all right on a couple of the other rosters that didn't do so hot, but they've had to then sit on that bench for a year and stagnate their careers. And you can argue that this is the case in other sports where, you know, substitutes in football and that sort of thing. You know, some players don't get to fulfill their potential because there's better players in those spots, and that's fair enough. But I don't know. I think that's sort of, you know, glaring towards the rough side of the way that they went. But that's it for that situation. I think, you know, it's not good. It's really not good, and I'm very, very disappointed in the Toronto organization for what's going on. But let's just catch up on Curran's intel, because we love to feature Curran on this YouTube channel. We wouldn't have much content to go through if he wasn't leaking all this stuff. But the teams that are locked in were at the top, obviously. All these guys are now in, but here are the rumours for the rest of them as well. We can't see them all. There's nothing hiding behind a cam here. Don't you worry. Obviously, Paris Legion, he doesn't seem to think anything's going on here, and that has been updated over the past 24 hours for the London side, hearing that 0 is London's 4th. So it's looking like London could be Dylan, Alex, 0, and Shawnee, which I think is be pretty decent, to be fair. Alex had a good year last year. Dylan was so-so, but we're now back to a Black Ops game. See how he does on this one. Shawnee was very good, and Black Ops 4 had a very good year end as well, and 0 played well as soon as he got on that London roster. So it's a good team. I still am curious to see what happens with the Twins. Honestly, crazy if they don't get some sort of spot somewhere, but that's what's going to happen when things are getting cut down. LA Gorillas, though, looking like they are rumoring to have Mental on there, of course, which we didn't really touch on too much, but I don't think there's too much to it. I think if you're a challenger team or challenger player looking to get on a spot in a sub spot, you're maybe a little bit disappointed in that sense, but to me, I think it makes sense for the risk. He could come in here and be one of the best players in the world, and how much do you think they're paying them? Probably the base salary, of course. So I don't think that's a crazy one by any sense of the imagination. But Toronto Ultra looking like the team that we thought as well. LA Optic, we're sort of seeing what's going on with that one as well. A lot of stuff up in the air at the moment in time, but we mostly talked about Ultra this video. Let me know what you think of the whole situation below. It's not good. It really isn't good. Give me your opinion on what the guys were saying on that podcast. Do you agree that Looney's a risky pickup? I don't think he is. I think if anyone's a risky pickup on that roster, it's Gunless. If anything, Loony will always do a solid job, will always offer that leadership. And I think it was a very, very silly argument. But what do you think of the whole situation with Brack having to then take a month's pay off? I feel as if Ultra's hand are probably going to be forced, or at least a statement will be coming out very, very shortly on this one, because the longer this goes on, the more damaging it is for them. Please leave a like on the video, subscribe if you have not. Plenty more COD and other games content coming throughout the rest of the week, and we will catch you for those guys, for those videos then, and we will see you then.